Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled in the shadow of the Great Blue Ridge Mountains, there lived an old farmer named Amos. Amos had few possessions, but he treasured one above all others, his goat, Maple. Maple was no ordinary goat, she was as clever as a fox and as stubborn as a mule. She had a sleek coat the color of autumn leaves, and her horns curled like little spirals of wood. But it wasn't just her looks that made her special, it was her curious knack for mischief. Maple had a reputation in the village for getting into places she didn't belong. No fence could hold her, and no door could keep her out. If there was a garden left unattended or a fresh batch of bread cooling on a windowsill, you could bet that Maple would find her way to it. Yet, despite her troublemaking, the villagers couldn't help but love her. There was something about the twinkle in her eye, as if she was always laughing at some secret joke. One summer, a terrible drought struck the land. The rivers dried up, the crops withered, and the earth cracked beneath the scorching sun. The farmers of the village grew desperate as their fields turned to dust. Amos, too, struggled to keep his small patch of land alive, though his concern was mostly for Maple. Without food, his beloved goat had grown thinner and weaker with each passing day. One evening, as Amos sat on his porch, stroking Maple's soft ears, he sighed. "What are we going to do, old girl? There's not a drop of water left in the well." Maple, as if understanding his words, gave a soft bleat and wandered off toward the hills. Amos watched her go but didn't think much of it. Maple often roamed as she pleased. However, when she didn't return by dusk, Amos grew worried and set off to find her. As he trekked through the forest at the base of the hills, Amos called out for Maple, but there was no answer. Just as he was about to turn back, he heard something curious faint, like the sound of running water. His heart leaped with hope. He followed the sound until he reached a hidden glen, nestled between two towering cliffs. And there, at the base of a great oak tree, stood Maple, her hooves stamping at the ground. Beneath her, a trickle of water bubbled up from the earth, pooling into a small, crystal-clear stream. Amos couldn't believe his eyes. "Maple, you found water!" he exclaimed, dropping to his knees beside her. The stream was cold and pure, and Amos drank deeply before splashing his face with the refreshing water. The drought had taken a toll on the village, but here, in this secret glen, there was life. Amos realized that if he could share this discovery with the village, it would save them all. The next morning, Amos led the villagers to the hidden stream. They marveled at the sight of the fresh water and praised Amos for his clever goat. "Maple saved us," Amos said with a laugh, giving her a pat. And from that day on, Maple was more than just a troublemaking goat, she was the village's hero. The villagers built a small shrine by the stream, calling it Maple Spring. They made sure the water was shared among everyone, and soon, the crops began to grow again, green and vibrant under the sun. The drought passed, and life returned to the village. As for Maple, she continued her adventures, still getting into mischief, of course. But no matter how many gardens she trampled or pies she borrowed, no one in the village ever stayed mad at her for long. After all, she was the goat who had found water in the desert, the clever little creature who saved them all. And so, Maple lived out her days happily wandering the fields, nibbling on grass and enjoying the sun, forever remembered as the most mischievous, but also the most beloved, goat the village had ever known.